I'm trying to round off a lot of work by the end of this week because the year is ending, and I usually have retreats, personal retreats, and just relaxation time. So it usually comes from the end of the month, so from the end of December into January, and then February we kick off work and all that. So that's on my end. So I'm trying as much as possible not to carry anything that will require me to work in January. Yeah, smart choices, because we have to rest. I have to rest, please. So anyways, today I am coming here to share with you some personal lessons that I've learned on goal setting, and it's one of the questions that I commonly get from you, a lot of you, and I'm usually very hesitant to share things like this. I don't know if you've noticed, I don't usually share a lot of things like how to do this, how to do that, how to do this, how to do that, because I think a lot of things are just personalized. There are things that can work for me that might not work for you, things that might work for you that might not work for me. So I think I care more about the principles than the rules and whatever works for everybody. I don't think everything works for everybody, but when it comes to principles, I believe strongly in principles. Principles are generic, irrespective of who you are, where you come from, your race, your tribe, whatever. Principles work, okay? So here are some things that I've learned from the principles that I've learned in life and have worked for me, and I think would work for you if you personalize them and you're willing to put in the work, okay? So in terms of goal setting, we're going to look at goal setting today. I think I'm going to try to record as many as I can today so that I'll give it to you in bits, okay? But today we're going to talk about goal setting, and the first tip I put down here is set realistic goals. I know you've probably heard that quite a number of times, but I want to clarify that realistic is subjective. So the word realistic is subjective. What I may see as realistic may not be what you see as realistic, because it's based on my own capacity, based on my potential, based on what I know about myself, based on what I know I can achieve, based on what resources I am aware that I have at my disposal. You see, now if I have more resources, my reality, it will be definitely different from another person who doesn't have that much access to such resources. So realistic goals at the end of the day are subjective, right? So you never know how realistic they are until you set them. So that is why it's important for you to set the goals first, and then be able to decide which do I think is realistic, which do I think is not realistic. And because it's not realistic, that doesn't mean it's not achievable. It just means that you don't have the resources at that point in time to bring them to life. So let's rephrase or give it a different name. They are not unrealistic goals at that point in time. They are limited, okay? They are limited by resources, they are limited by access, they are limited by skill. For whatever reason they cannot be achieved at that point in time, it means that they are limited. And personally, by my own personal experience, I'd advise that you just keep them aside. Sometimes you might end up using them, sometimes you may not, but what's important is you reframing your understanding of what realistic goals are, okay? So either ways, you just have to set them. So when you set them, you're able to determine, oh, this is realistic, this is something I can achieve now with what I have, this is something that I cannot achieve right now because I don't have this. And as we go into the rest of the points here, you would understand what to do in situations like that, okay? So number 2 is determine if they are long-term or short-term. This is very important because that is what determines what you commit to, okay? Long-term goals are more intensive, okay? They are more intensive in resources, yes, because whatever you're building now, you have to heavily consider how it impacts in the long run, meaning that the margin for mistakes and certain kinds of flaws and it's not really friendly, okay, compared to short-term goals where you're like, oh, you just get it done and you don't really have to think about the long-term impact because you're just doing it for now. Do you understand what I mean? So I remember when I started Gabriel Global Transformation School, and I was committed to more short-term goals, like, oh, this course, this, like little bits of it that were just concentrated on the now, nothing that has to do with the future. Till now, I am more capable. I have at least a certain level of access to certain resources, and now, based on my own personal experience, based on my skill upgrades and all that, I'm able now to sit down and plan long term. So in the short term, it was just an online coaching. It was just for online coaching. But now I'm thinking long term. Long term is now institutionalizing it, turning it into an institution, you see. And for that long term, the goals will be different. The goals will be different. The planning will be different. The structuring will be different. The systems and everything will be different. Do you understand what I mean? Compared to what it was before, where I didn't need any framework, I didn't need much. I just had to sit down and brand myself and bring my resources together and then coach. But now it's different. Do you see? So having a sense or a picture of what is short term and long term is very important. And I always advise, start short term. Start with what you can do right now, okay? And then always give room for it to expand and to grow, okay? Yes, then the next one I wrote here is recognize the gaps, obstacles and efforts required, including skill sets and what to outsource. So you have to recognize the gaps. Now, if it's a knowledge gap, if it's an education gap, so there are some things that would require you to have completed, let's say, a certain level of education. And what other gaps do I know? I know mostly of knowledge gap because that's the most common gap. Especially you're like, oh, I don't have what it takes, to achieve this because I've not gotten to that level of education. And it can be formal, it can be informal. Not everything is learned in school. Sometimes you have to take initiative towards learning these things. It can be practical. It's usually more practical. I think you gain more when it's more practical, especially when it comes to leadership. Okay, leadership is more practical than theoretical because whatever you read in the books is not completely exactly how it plays out in real life because of the dynamics of life. You're going to meet people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ways of doing things, and the practicality of it requires you to adjust, adapt, and all that. So it's not really that theoretical. So what I mean by informal and formal is looking for situations and cases in life that allow you to learn and also apply what you know, and also things that bring out the skills. So things like volunteering. I don't know about reading books. There's only as much reading books can do for you. Just putting yourself in situations that allow you to take initiatives, make decisions, interact with people, and things that challenge you to rise, especially during times of challenges. Talked about gaps. Now we're looking at obstacles. Obstacles are environmental factors that could hinder your progress or your achievement of your goals. Okay, so sometimes it can be family, it can be your environment, it can be what other obstacles do I know? It could be your mindset. You need to work on your mindset first. Is you recognizing that you need to work on your mindset before you can even move forward. Okay? You realize that maybe the mindset based on your background affects the way you see your possibility of achieving certain things. So that's an obstacle. That is something that is stopping you basically. Okay? So I've mentioned family, environment, your friends. Yes, you're okay. That's part of the environment. Your friends, the people you hang around with. If, let's say, for instance, now you're getting serious, you're being more committed, and your friends are laughing at you. They're making fun of your seriousness. They're making fun of your commitment. You can't be with them. You can't. I'm sorry, sweetie. You can't. I need to hold the tip of your fingers and tell you that you cannot. You can have those kind of people in your environment. At least close. Okay, because especially if you're sensitive, that would literally discourage you from going forward. So I'm not saying you cut them off or anything, but just begin to redefine your friendships, redefine the people that you allow very close, especially when it comes to the seriousness of setting your goals. This is now setting things that will affect your future, and I promise you that's very important. That is very much important. So set, boundaries and redefine your friendships and your relationships with people. We've looked at obstacles. Now let's look at effort. Effort is the energy, the strength, everything that it will take from you to bring these things to life, these goals to life, okay? And your efforts might include or will include your skill sets and what you outsource. So let's recognize that you cannot do everything on your own. At some point, you need guidance, you will need friendships that are strategic. Okay, I'm not saying you should go and start becoming friends with people just for what you can get from them. No. But this is why I said you have to really set your relationships, right? Outsourcing is like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not good at this, but my friend is good at this. Can I seek their counsel in this? For instance, when I started Gabriel Global Transformation School, I had a lot of friends who were willing to, assist me in programming and all this technical stuff just to put together a website that was capable of, where I could upload my courses and everything, right? And that's one of the biggest blessings, because I was like, I don't know anything about this. All I knew was Google Classroom and then Seller. But then, with their expertise, they are like, oh, this is what is possible, this is what you can do, this is what you can do, this is what you can do, this is where you can start from, this is what is expensive, this is what is cost effective, and all that. You see all that allows me to have a clearer picture of what I can do right now. Remember, as we discussed, what we are capable of doing and what we are not capable of doing now, based on our limits, understand, and our available resources. Do you understand? So what to outsource? Okay, maybe you might need more hands in the leadership roles. Let's say, for instance, now, if when it comes to administration, you're good at administration but not good at finances, you will definitely need somebody to help you out with that. So outsourcing is not just only limited to people around you. You can also outsource information and knowledge through platforms, right? Education platforms like YouTube, course platforms where you can learn, like, all these courses and short-term skills. This includes now skill sets where you're like, okay, this part of leadership is not something that I'm used to, because everybody has their own leadership style that works for them. But you realize that in this context, I need to be more of a visionary leader than I am authoritative. So now, if that's not your forte, you need to outsource skills and understand the whole concept of being a visionary leader in order to incorporate that into your leadership, which in turn would bring about the success of your goals. Do you understand? Very good. And the last thing I've written here is be disciplined. Sweetie, be disciplined. You need discipline, okay? You have to deprive yourself of a lot of comforts. So you see, all this requires discipline. You need to want it bad enough, recognize what it takes to get it done, and deprive yourself of certain comforts just for a short period of time. That's why it's important to tell, is it short term or long term? And I want to give this example of secondary school. When I was in secondary school, we had timetables, and these timetables were non-negotiable. If we had this at this particular time, we got it done at that time. So if we had biology, we did biology at biology time. Whatever slot or allocation of time was given to that particular subject, it was done. Okay? Then there were break times, and then there were free periods to do whatever you wanted to do. You see? So have that kind of mindset when you're even like disciplining yourself and planning and organizing yourself, because organization is also part of discipline. If you're not organized, if you've not allocated time and you're not willing to commit to the time that you have set for that thing, there is no way you can get it done. if you keep doing things at your own timing, at your own comfort, you're not going to achieve as much as you desire to. And being organized is using the same secondary school example of how there were timetables. You'd realize that at the end of the week, you've actually rotated through 12 subjects. I don't know about what your secondary school, but it was between 9 to 12 subjects, sometimes even 15. At the end of the week, you've gone through all of them and you have achieved whatever was expected of you to achieve within that week, right? You cover subjects, you cover topics and all that, and activities as well. You see, so look at it that way. Don't completely abandon everything that you learned from secondary school because now you're an adult and you can do everything you want. It's true, but then let's not also forget that those things, those structures and things that were already set in stone helped in the achievement of the goals and the bigger picture at hand. So that is why personally I am a huge advocate for having a timetable. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do between 1 p.m. Sorry, I'm used to 1 a.m. between 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. So your phone is going to be on silent. You're going to achieve this within this time frame, and this is what you're going to do. Okay, because you're never going to know how much time it takes you to get these things done till you start. And that is what now allows you to even frame and restructure your timetable in a more realistic way. Realistic, what suits you, than how it suits another person. So something that might take me 30 minutes might take you 20 minutes. It might take you longer. So you never know till you try. Okay, so being organized is very important. That allows you to now know what to stick to and what is important at that period. And you would end up achieving so much if you just do things in those small bits. So if you decide that you're setting aside 1 hour every day to commit to a course, right? 30 minutes every day for, let's say, 5 days. That is a huge commitment. That is time that you have committed to that. And imagine if you do that over a span of 1 month, 2 months, let's say 3 months, right? You would end up achieving things that you wouldn't have known is possible. And that's what we call compounding, the compound effect, right? It keeps compounding and compounding and compounding and compounding and compounding. So things like the efforts you put keep coming together. And before you know it, time has gone by and you've achieved what you set out to achieve. Okay, so you also have to break down what you need to do. Break it down. Okay, for instance, now if you want to achieve something but you notice that there's a knowledge gap, okay, there's a knowledge gap to achieving this thing, you ask yourself, okay, how do I commit to building knowledge? And if the knowledge gap is very essential, like if bridging the knowledge gap is very essential to the achievement of that goal, that means you have to put it aside because it's a limited goal, right? But in the meantime, you're getting what it needs to be done. Like you're getting what needs to be done, right? You're still building on your knowledge gap so that you can still come back to achieve it. You see what I mean? So there is still that level of structuring and planning, but you can only do that when you're disciplined and organized. Do you understand? And this is how you build capacity as well to handle more things. For instance, I remember when I was like, oh my God, I thought that one of the biggest needs I had this year was money. But yes, money was very important for a lot of my projects. But the more I focused on the gaps that I had besides money, the more I really realized that if I even got access to the amount of money that I thought I needed, I'd waste it because there were no set structures and there was no organized way of handling certain things. So part of my long-term goals was institutionalizing everything under Gabriel Global, from the Surging Woman to Salutaris to the Gabriel Global Transformation School to Emerge. These 4 pillars of transformation and nation building, before they were short-term goals, there were things I just wanted, I thought they were just short-term. But as I look at them, I'm like, okay, in the next 5 years, let's say Vision 2030, by 2030 it's 5 years. In the next 5 years, this is what I aim to achieve in all these individual platforms. And I want to institutionalize them in a way that they all stand independently. They generate their own income, they have their own identity, all independently. Do you see? Right? And each of them have different requirements, different sets of skills and knowledge to get them running, especially as someone who is now the person like spearheading and making all the primary decisions at the moment. So as I began to focus my goals more on institutionalizing and making them all independent individually, I began to see gaps, okay, financial gaps. So if I even got money, let's say for a grant for Salutaris, that's my NGO, how will this money be accounted for? How do we even make sure that we maximize it to the fullest, we're held accountable, and in case of anything, it will be said that this is what was spent. So that's a financial provision. That's a financial thing that needs to be. And that's not my forte. That is not something I'm good at. This is where now things like outsourcing or learning online or asking people, that's where it comes in, for you to set the structure that's able to carry that resource that you need to take it up a notch. Same with the Gabriel Global Transformation School. I need more decision makers. I need more people that understand the concept of an institution and what it will take to bring this thing to life. There's only much I can do as the director, as the one with the courses and everything, but there's more that is needed within this, right? Do you see? And they need money. So if I didn't sit down to know what exactly needs the money, where it is going to, I would most likely have squandered it. So you see how being organized and taking your time to achieve one goal after the other eventually compounds to create the big picture that you want. Yeah, so I think that's about it I can share today, and I hope to share more, but that will be based on what you ask, because I know goal setting has been something that has been often asked, and I can't remember the rest of the questions that people ask me. I think another thing is balance. Yeah, how do you balance? But I think with what I've explained in being disciplined and organizing yourself, it's easier now to strike a balance. Okay, you can't you can't do everything, and I don't know, I think that's subjective though. Okay, if you have the time on your plate, actually with the right planning and everything, you can actually get so much done within a short period of time. But like I said, you're going to deprive yourself of certain comforts, of certain things within that period. Okay, so I might look into balance. I don't know. I'd like to hear from you first, or you give me your outlook or your perspective of what balance means to you, and I think that's what's going to help me frame how I can share my own personal experience with you and share with you what has worked for me. But yes, thank you for staying and watching till the end. Till we meet again. Bye.